To many of the old timers, this time of morning when the water's just beginning to simmer, we're at about 135, 140 degrees in the boiler, you can hear the sound of the water simmering, and it's just so peaceful. It translates into the fact that the old timers, as well as us preservers of this history, feel like that these engines are a living, breathing organism, and they come alive as you continue to feed the fire and lubricate all of the moving parts. And when she comes alive, it's just an incredible feeling to see everything come to life and then do the actual work that they were meant to do. Beautiful piece of machinery, far ahead of its time. This was the iPhone of 1910.
Can you give us a little history on the engine, Jeff?
This engine came out of the Ed Larson estate in Milan, Kansas. Mr. Harper up in northern Kansas restored the engine in the 70s. We don't have the history all the way back to its birth, but we do know that it's been very well taken care of, as is shown by the gearing is like brand new. She didn't do a whole lot of drawbar work at all, because the drivers are still in great shape. The gears is all like brand new. It probably spent a lot of its life on a sawmill and a threshing machine, but didn't do much plowing at all. So it's a very well preserved example of a Russell steam traction engine. 25 horsepower. Next May at the show, I have an idea she'll pull about 90 horsepower on the brake. How are we looking over there, Will?
Good.
Anything you want to add? You're live in Pawnee, America with Will Ratliff and the boss.
The boss.
Now, Will, you're the owner, right?
Yes, sir.
How long have you had this engine?
We've had it a little under a year, so new to us, but we're figuring out all the little things about it. Getting all the kinks worked out.
So what are you going to be doing with the engine today?
So we've got a bunch of logs over there on the bunks, and so we're hoping to turn the big logs into boards, and maybe somebody will make something cool out of them, but I don't know. What are you going to do with your logs, Jeff?
We're going to build barn doors for a house that are sliding barn doors. This is kind of the newest craze, and so when we build the house in Mulhall at the ranch, all this wood will be used to build trim and doors. Now let's, you should have turned you around last night so you get the benefit of the drive.
Well, the wind was blowing the other way yesterday. 1,000 degrees.
1,100 degrees. We are transferring heat somewhat inefficiently, but this was the best form of transferring heat to water in 1910.
I think the efficiency of like a normal gas engine is about 30%, and the efficiency of these engines is about less than 1%. So about 1% of all the heat that we put into it gets turned into actual mechanical work.
But fuel was cheap in the early 1900s, and when you sat on a sawmill, you would burn your slab wood, and so basically your fuel was free, and water was almost as free. We've been taking temperature readings on the boiler as she heats up. The temperature in the steam space right now is about 130, where down in the actual water that is approaching boiling temperature is at about 158. The steam temperature at 150 degrees is around 365 degrees. 150 pounds of steam is about 365 degrees Fahrenheit. So this boiler's still got a long ways to go before it's at its maximum allowed working pressure.
How long ago was it that you lit the fire in the boiler?
Less than an hour
Less
ago.
than an hour. Whenever, if the water's cold, it'll take, it could take 1.5 to 2 hours to come up to steam. We were at 90 degrees on our water temperature this morning, so we'll come up a little quicker today.
So you had it fired up yesterday?
We had it fired yesterday, yes sir.
Well, that helps out a lot when you have it fired the night
Yes, sir.
before.
You've got a good warm boiler. It's a
Lot easier
we'll
to get
have
it
steam
going.
within an hour. It will have 10 to 15 pounds of steam pressure, and then we will add a little bit of forced draft once we reach about 20 psi. A little forced draft through the smokestack, take a little bleed steam off of the dome, and force that air up through the smokestack, which will create more draft through the draft door into the firebox. Creates a hotter fire. Hotter fire creates more heat and boils the water quicker. So the first 25 pounds of steam takes anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. The next 100 pounds of steam takes about 30 minutes. It was one of the beauties of steam power was that under a full load or under a load in general, a steam traction engine could build pressure, because the harder you worked it, the more exhaust would go out the smokestack, drawing in more fresh air into the draft door, into the firebox, providing more oxygen to the fire, created a hotter fire, thereby creating more steam. So you could maintain 150 pounds of steam throughout an entire sawing run, and no internal combustion engine can make that same claim. They were workhorses of their time.
All right, guys. Well, we'll check in a little bit later when we have a little bit more steam pressure.